Before you enjoy another listen to the Chris Renne Show, take a minute to follow your gracious host on Twitter at Chris_Renne and on Instagram at ChrisRenne5. And don't forget to follow M Basement Prod for all things the Chris Renne Show and all things Pints at the Round Table. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud to get the updated notifications for every new show. Welcome in, everybody. It's your host, Christopher Renne here. This is a Chris Renne Show, and it is episode 38. Back from another weekend, back from another week. Straight killing the game, keep modernizing Mom's Basement Productions. It's been a long chore. It's been fine. I killed my public speaking speech that I told you all about last week. So, it's good. It's good. Good stuff. Let's get this show started. Let's get the ball rolling right away. I'm on a timetable tonight. We'll start today off with the King and a place I started off the show last week with trouble in Tinseltown. The LeBron update, the Lakers have not gotten better. The Lakers have actually gotten worse off since the last time I was talking to you all. After two bad losses to the Suns and the Clippers over the weekend, they're 5.5 back from playoff contention. Now, LeBron, three-time NBA champion, been to finals, the NBA finals more than half the time he's been in the league. He's made it to the finals. He's 3-6, been to the finals 9 times. Multi-time MVP, scoring champ, top 10 in assists, top 10 in points scored. Going to be top 25 in every statistical category when he's done. But the question that keeps coming up is what happens if LeBron doesn't make the playoffs? What does it mean to his legacy? I don't think 10 years down the road, if he misses the playoffs this year, it affects his legacy. I think the only thing it's going to affect at this point is his reputation in Los Angeles, plain and simple. Yes, it'll tarnish his legacy in the moment, absolutely. The King, not the greatest basketball player in the world anymore, and you're going to have to accept it, LeBron fans, myself included. LeBron has looked like a shell of himself, and part of that was due to his groin injury. Part of that was due to never fitting in with the team, and part of that was probably due to coaching and not respecting the guy in charge. You know, you got to put some blame on Clutch Sports, another business venture he's part of. Rich Paul and the Anthony Davis debacle did not help the team's chemistry when LeBron was coming back from industry. You got to blame the young guys for not following suit, the young guys for being too individual. Brandon Ingram stepped up big time. I've respected the hell out of the way he's played, the way he played against the Bucks, the way he played against the team they played before the Bucks. It was another good team. I can't remember. We'll look up the Lakers' schedule real quick. But to pinpoint where this went wrong in just one place is just impossible and unfair to all parts. I think a sole part of this blame has to go on the power struggle between Jeanie Buss, Magic Johnson, and Rob Pelinka, and LeBron James. So you've got 3 people. So you form the power triangle, the triangle offense of the Lakers. Shout out to Phil Jackson. But you start that out. So you've got LeBron in one corner. LeBron and Clutch Sports is in one corner. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, the other corner. And you have Jeanie Buss. So Jeanie Buss is pro Luke Walton, a big thing. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, not pro Luke Walton, anti-Luke Walton. LeBron James, not a fan of Luke Walton. So this puts Luke Walton in an awkward position with the young guys because the top dog on the team and the president and the GM don't respect the coach. So Why should the young guys respect the coach? Am I right? It's a big problem. It's a big issue. I talked about the millennial problem, and that comes from not having strong leadership. But at the same time, the leadership needs to start from the best player on the team, and that's LeBron, and that's just plain and simple. I was watching a radio show today, or listening to a radio show today, and they said this is LeBron's worst year from an optic standpoint, which is 100% true. LeBron's been nothing but drama, nothing but unsupportive to his teammates and coaches, and full-on mogul mode. The shop's been his biggest worry. His album with 2 Chainz was his other biggest worry. His movie's coming out next fall and next summer, his other biggest worry. He's got so many other things he's worried about that basketball is not a priority. And when you're a one-year guy on a mercenary contract, like I talked about last week, the Michael Beasleys, the Rondos, the Lance Stevensons, it creates an odd fit. Because the veterans think they're better than these young, talented up-and-comers, and they want minutes. There's a big reason there was a spat between Michael Beasley and Luke Walton, and there's a big reason Michael Beasley's not on the team today. And the fact that Michael Beasley, a perennial role player, a guy who can get buckets, mind you, but never has been stable and has always sort of been a head case, feels like he can disrespect Luke Walton. And that's because Luke Walton, as a peer, as a player, was not even close to that of LeBron. Probably wasn't even sniffing the surface of Michael Beasley, Lance Stevenson, or Rondo. Luke Walton was a bench player. He was a bench warmer. And if this team was filled with young guys like it was supposed to be the year prior, it works. Because Luke Walton understands the youth of this game. Now, people are going to say, well, what about the win streak he had when he filled in for Steve Kerr on the Warriors? Well, I'll tell you this. I could have probably led that win streak as a head coach. Plain and simple. The Warriors were the best team in the world at the time. Still are the best team in the world. It doesn't matter who's coaching. I think Steve Kerr's done a great job managing egos. It can't be easy having Kevin Durant, a very touchy-feely guy. Can't be easy having Draymond Green, a very vocal guy. All in the same locker room. It's volatile. It's explosive. It's not good. And Luke Walton did a good job while he was in charge. But coaching LeBron is different. LeBron is a control-oriented player. When David Blatt didn't get the job done, LeBron brought in one of his guys, Tyronn Lue. He was an assistant coach on David Blatt's staff, and that's who was the head coach. And a lot of people are going to talk trash, because guess what? Luke Walton's done. Luke Walton's out. It's 2 versus 3, and the president of the basketball operations, the GM, and the best player on the team want the coach out. That's it. Luke Walton's cut. This season is it for him as a Lakers head coach. Was it a colossal failure? No. Did he have time to get a real chance to be the coach? No. But when you get the king, when you get LeBron James, it comes with an amplified amount of pressure. So with Luke Walton being done, who's the favorite to take over? Well, Tyronn Lue is the favorite. Jason Kidd's another favorite, and Eric Spoelstra. 2 guys who have previously coached him, and he had issues with throughout the times together. But LeBron has the utmost respect for him at the end of the day because they won championships together, and he knows it's possible with him. The next one's Jason Kidd, a guy who beat LeBron in the postseason in the NBA Finals. A guy LeBron has nothing but respect for as an NBA player and an NBA mind. Will these replacements do a good enough job? No, they won't. LeBron's too old to do it without another superstar. And even with another superstar, are they good enough to supersede the Warriors, the Rockets, the Nuggets, I stand corrected, and the list of teams in the West that are already better than them? Now, if LeBron stayed healthy, they were the 4th seed in the West when his groin popped. Great place to be. Right now, they're the 10th seed. And like I said, with the volatile relationships, the volatile personalities of Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, the whole situation in Los Angeles is volatile. And Luke Walton can't handle it. Luke Walton called 2 plays on 2 timeouts last night. and the inbound ended up going into a post, Javale McGee post up, I believe it was. I was watching a show this morning and they talked about it, and the result of those two plays was 0 for 2, 0 points on the possession. It's not good. It's not smart. It's not good coaching. When Lance Stevenson's hot, guess who doesn't play in the second half? His minutes are bad. His rotations don't work. He's just not a great coach for this roster or team. Is it fair? Not completely. But is his criticism warranted? Absolutely. So I'll end this conversation with, is there still hope? Yes, there's still hope. There's 18 games left to be played. You have the best player in the world, and you have a lot of young talent. If Lonzo was healthy, I guarantee it, because Lonzo was that much of a difference maker through that first half of the season. Lonzo's a really good basketball player. But right now, it's a time to look in your mirror, look at the guy in the glass, and it's winning time, as they say. Whew. So there's your LeBron update for the week. I will be giving these weekly updates till, I guess, the season ends. Then I'll continue giving NBA free agency updates because I guess it'll be fun this summer, right? Yeah, so moving forward, I will be doing an experimental car ride podcast over the weekend. So look out for that. It'll be a special edition of the Chris Renne Show. Not sure how long it's going to be. It's going to be fun, though. Pints will be out Thursday. Don't forget to follow Pints at the Round Table's new Twitter at MB Pints and its old Instagram at Pints at the Round Table 1 for all things Pints at the Round Table. So, with the LeBron talk over, I'm going to move forward to the biggest event that happened last week, and that is the Underwear Olympics. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about the NFL Combine. So my opinion on the NFL Combine when it comes to how do I put this? When it comes to the importance of the Combine. So the Combine does not make or break real talent, and there's going to be players who weren't invited to the Combine for whatever reason that make a name for themselves in the NFL. Is it cool to see your favorite players from college run in spandex and show themselves in interview? Yes, it's awesome. So the most important parts of the Combine, in all honesty, are the medicals and the interviews. Because finding an underlying health problem, making sure that old injuries are not hurting the player anymore, and finding out what the players really like, because the interviews can make or break someone. An example of that was Jachai Polite this weekend. Worst Combine ever. Extremely temperamental interviews. I'll be talking about that in a little bit, because I'm doing a long Combine section, a couple sections actually on the Combine. So, when it comes to physicals, Kyler Murray, the measurements. His height was 5'10 and an eighth. 1 inch. Huge difference. Crazy, right? Yeah. If Kyler Murray was really legit and you really believed in Kyler Murray, that 1 inch doesn't make a difference. But there was NFL scouts and GMs on the fence about his size. Well, now that he's 5'10 and 1/8, people will look at the film differently than they did when he was 5'9 3/4. Weird, crazy, right? So you move on to the events, the athletic events, the performances, the performing, and you're getting prodded and interviewed by scouts the whole time, and you're expected to run an extremely fast time, jump at an extremely high rate, jump extremely far, bench press a ton of times, and run through position drills effectively and at a great clip. So, a lot of athletes go into the Combine with expectations. Scouts expect them to run this fast to match the tape. And if you match the tape, well, what they saw is proven right. If you're a little slower than they think is what they think they saw on the tape, well, they're going to have to go reevaluate the tape to see if they missed something. And if you run faster than on the tape, guess what? They're going to have to go take another look at the tape. Regardless, after this performance, they're still going to go look back at the tape. So the better you perform, look at Paris Campbell, for example, and look at DK Metcalf, two guys who had really good combines for multiple reasons. Both wide receivers, both ran extremely fast. Both were extremely awesome in all the athletic events. But the better you perform, the more money you're going to get. Paris Campbell was a second-round receiver before the Combine, but showing how explosive he was, he might work his way into the first round as an athlete. DK Metcalf, a lot of people said he was a physical freak, and he proved it to him. No one thought he was going to run a 4.33. I will tell you that with how big he is. So you go through all these different events, and yes, the 40-yard dash is awesome, but how often are you going to be running the 40-yard dash? So there's 3 measurements you measure in a 40-yard dash. The initial burst, that's the first 10 yards. That's different for each position, and each position has an importance on it. A quarterback's first 10-yard burst, whatever, he's dropping back anyways. But an explosive position who needs to get off the ball fast, an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, a DB who has to explode out of breaks. Almost every other position, the 10-yard burst is extremely important besides quarterback and specialist. So the 10-yard burst is just the initial amount of acceleration and explosiveness an athlete has. Then you move forward to the 20-yard clip, and that is to measure the maintaining of the acceleration and burst to your top speed. So if you get a 1.6 on your 10-yard, a lot of scouts, and if you're really that fast, you're going to want a 2.6 by the 20-yard. That second 10 yards should take a full second less, or half a second less than the first 10 yards. And then the 40-yard dash, it should be maintained from that 20-yard split. So if you run a 1.6 initial burst, a 1, and that last little bit should be a little bit faster if you're going to run a 4.4 or 4.5. You're progressively supposed to be accelerating through the whole 40 yards, and that's the goal of the 40. And that measures long-term speed, initial burst, and maintaining the burst. It's a fun event. It's awesome. But then you get events like the 3-cone drill. It's shaped like an L, and it shows athletes' ability to maneuver around in tight spaces, more football related. A short shuttle, the 20-yard short shuttle, fast. The best times are around 4.0 to 4.2 for the most part, depending on position. And all of these drills are very good at testing athleticism. But you don't want to measure an offensive lineman on his 40. You want to measure an offensive lineman on his 10-yard split. You want to measure a receiver on his ability to cut in and out, but you also want to know his top-line speed. Now, a linebacker that runs a 4.4 but can't do the 3-cone drill, that's a little worrisome. And when you scrutinize a receiver for doing the bench press and doing 7 reps, CC Hunter Renfrow, the white receiver, the 4-year starter, the guy who's been playing at Clemson since 1865, did 7 reps on the bench press. But this is where the disservice happens. Hunter Renfrow never looked like he was strong in his chest throughout his whole career. You could see it on the film. Yeah, it might have been like he didn't take the combine seriously, but maybe he's just not a strong guy. That doesn't mean he can't be a good receiver. Once he gets into the NFL and they get him into that diet system and get him that way, you could get the next Wes Welker. And that's not a race thing. It's just exactly the same way he plays. So, once you get through the weird questions and interviews, the games the interviewers and coaches and scouts like to play with the players, the drills, the penis is popping out, look it up. It is, in all honesty, just the Underwear Olympics. And we always talk about going into it, you can't give too much credit to the combine. And then 2 days after, 1 day after, everyone overreacts to everything that happened in the combine. But when I started at the beginning and said, regardless of how you did at the combine, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go back in, pop in the tape, and see if the combine proved who you were, proved who you weren't, or proved you're exactly what you are and this is what you're going to be. The most important 2 things are what the players put on tape the last 3 to 4 years and how they acted to their teammates, their coaches, and in their communities. And that's the most important part of the combine, the interviews and finding out about the player. With all that being said, though, there were some guys who absolutely killed the combine. And here are some of my NFL Combine best performers. I'm just going to go straight out of the gate and reveal my biases. Ohio State absolutely showed out. Terry McLaurin, 4.35. Did really good in every other athletic event. Showed out at the Pro Bowl, or Senior Bowl. He's working his way into the 3rd or 4th round as a receiver when people thought he was a 6th or 7th round pick. Crisp route runner, caught the ball extremely well, jumped well, ran well, did all the agility drills extremely well, interviewed exceptionally. And once I'm done with the last Ohio State player I'm going to talk about, I'll tell you why Ohio State's better than everybody else at preparing people for the draft. Johnny Dixon, good medicals. He had problems with his knees with tendonitis. Happens to the best of them. Had a really troublesome first couple of years in college because of it. Came out, ran a 4.41. Once again, great hands in all the receiving drills. Great route running, great crisp, very awesome, great performance. Same place as Terry McLaurin, 3 and 4. Both special team aces. Nick Bosa didn't do anything to hurt himself. Benched 225 30 times. Okay. That's crazy. That's a lot for an edge defender. Ran a 4.71. All right. Guess what? There's people faster than him. There's freakier, linear athletes that play defensive line. Whatever. I don't want to be seeing Nick Bosa line up against any of my tackles, and he hasn't played a game in the league. The big thing for Nick Bosa, he showed exactly who he is on the tape, and his medicals came back positive, and coming back from that core injury might have hindered his 40 time. And I can see him at his pro day getting into the 4.6s. He's an extremely explosive defensive end. And he was just a little faster than his brother Joey. And I don't think anyone denies the talent that Mr. Joey Bosa shows. The last one from Ohio State, from the skill positions, and not just and not a quarterback, is Mike Weber. And Mike Weber is not slow. 4.47. Really good short shuttle time, really good 3-cone drill, killed it in all the drills, and most importantly, interviewed well, and probably worked himself into the 2nd round or 3rd round, Pro Bowl pending, or Pro Day pending. The next great performance from an Ohio State Buckeye, Michael Jordan. Michael B. Jordan, the guard/center. Way more athletic than I ever thought he was. He really showed out, and a lot of people were not overwhelmed by it, but it definitely helped his draft stock and showed that he has what it takes to be an NFL guard, for sure. He's a little tall for a guard, but his athleticism and his ability to bend makes him very good for what an NFL team wants from a guard. Now, moving forward, and Kendall Sheffield, the guy who was supposed to be the fastest dude on Ohio State, tore his pectoral. You get 1 or 2 of these a year during the combine. It's bad. It's not good, but happens. I don't think you can get rid of the bench press. I don't think there's a healthier way to test chest explosiveness. It's tough. He's a DB. Do DBs really need to bench a little bit? They do need to show their strength in press coverage and all that, but is its importance worth hurting the defensive backs? I don't know. I don't think so. So moving forward to the last Buckeye, for real, Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback, you know, the one. The guy I think is the best quarterback in the draft. No bias there. I truly do think he's the most NFL-ready quarterback and the only NFL-caliber quarterback in this draft from a starting quarterback standpoint. He threw the ball better than everybody there, and Kyler Murray didn't throw. Dwayne Haskins is a football player. Dwayne Haskins is a competitor. Kyler Murray said he was a football player, said he was going to use this to prepare for the draft process. Well, the draft process includes running and throwing at the combine, and he did neither. How does that make me feel about him as a prospect? Doesn't change my mind. Dwayne Haskins, when he threw the ball, it looked different than every other quarterback there. There were quarterbacks with his arm strength, but not his touch, and there's quarterbacks with his touch, but not his arm strength. He has the best of both worlds. He could throw the ball a quarter mile, he could throw the ball 100 miles an hour, and he could loft the ball into a trash can from about 45 yards out and make it stick. Dwayne Haskins did nothing to change anyone's opinion that he wasn't the best throwing quarterback in this draft class. Is he the best athlete? No. But no one ever said he was. He's a traditional quarterback. And after this, I'm going to talk draft speculation after the combine, all that good fun stuff. And Dwayne Haskins will be part of that conversation. So I'll move forward a little bit. So the defensive line freaks happened. Montez Sweat ran a 4.41 40. He jumped 40 inches in the air. And he jumped 11 feet outward at 260 pounds. Montez Sweat from Mississippi State solidified himself as one of the best edge defenders in the draft with his pure athleticism. Then you get to Quinnen Williams, the best inside pass rusher in the class. He's a defensive tackle. He dominated the college level for his 1 year as a starter after being a rotational player the year before. Dominated the SEC, was wreaked havoc all over the ball, did nothing to show he wasn't as freaky as he looked. He's honestly, in my opinion, the best Alabama defensive line prospect since Marcel Darius. He's that type of athlete. Then you move forward to Dexter Lawrence, the guy from Clemson, the defensive tackle. 4-year starter, or 4-year player. Awesome guy, unbelievable person, unbelievable leader in the locker room. A big reason this team was as good as they were this year with the amount of youth they had. Dexter Lawrence, for his size, put on an absolute clinic for what a modern defensive tackle needs to be like as well, and almost matched Quinnen Williams in every category. And people didn't think he was this explosive and athletic. They were all wrong. And then Rashawn Gary with like a 4.5 340 or something crazy like that, 4.63. Can't remember the exact number. A school up north guy, a Michigan guy, doesn't really matter to me anymore. He's going to the league. My projection for him was going to the Raiders. I still think that's probably true. They're going to try to find a pass rusher. But as the D-line freaks showed out and the edge rushing freaks showed out, there's going to be a lot of good defensive front seven players in this draft. The two Devins are my next ones on the list. Devin White and Devin Bush. One from LSU, one from Michigan. You tell me which one you think's which. Doesn't matter. Don't really care. They're both freaks. They both run fast. They're both extremely strong. They're both extremely explosive, and they both had exceptionally good combines, solidifying their spots as two of the top 3 linebackers in the draft. If either of the two Devins fall to the Browns and they don't take them, I'm going to slap John Dorsey in the face. Because they're two guys who know how to play football. But Devin Bush can't catch Paris Campbell, and that's just the way it is. So run your 4.4. We got 4.3 speed at Ohio State. Andy Isabella, 4.31. A track guy, true track guy, tied Paris Campbell for the best one. Oh, shoot, I skipped some. All right, so the two Devins were as free as advertised. Forget what I just said. Kyler being 5'10", big winner. I talked about it a little earlier. Not going to talk about it. I will say this. He is blessed by the moment, though. Because Baker was a shorter quarterback. Russell Wilson's a shorter quarterback who's been successful. And Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback who took the league by storm. You get the short, you get the movement, and you get a decent arm with Kyler Murray. And that's awesome. But as draft shows and profiles show, back 10 years ago, there was only one Drew Brees. There was only one guy under 6 feet who made it work. Kyler's 5'10". That's still not very big. Kyler's 205 and didn't carry it that well and probably will drop to 195. The difference between Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson cut weight to run faster at the combine. Russell Wilson walks around at 225, 230. Kyler Murray bulked up to weigh in at the combine. He's not as big of an athlete as Russell, who's 5'11 and 3/4. Russell's small, but Russell's not that type of small. Russell is built. But Kyler, having Russell come before him, Russell Wilson that is, having players right around 6 foot and under 6 foot getting drafted in the first round come before him, got blessed by this. And having Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who wanted him out of high school and a guy who wanted him when he was transferring, didn't get his chance, and he finally does it one. And that's crazy, and this would have never happened 5 to 10 years ago. And people were like, Kyler Murray's a running quarterback. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry. Yeah, and people were comparing to Michael Vick and Vince Young. Well, Michael Vick's 6'2", like 225 when he got to the league, and he was still electric. He was thick too. Michael Vick was thick. Vince Young was thick. There hasn't been many good running quarterbacks that weren't thick in the frame, and that's just the truth. Flipping side from a non-physical freak from a physical standpoint to a physical freak in all aspects. DK Metcalf, 6'3", 230 pounds of just pure shreddedness. He won the combine before it started with that picture of him with his shirt off. The one where he looked like Sean Oakman, who got off from his rape conviction. Good for Sean Oakman, good for men everywhere. But DK Metcalf does not have 1.6% body fat. That's a lie. You cannot physically survive with anything less than 3% body fat for long periods of time. If he had 1.6% body fat, his organs couldn't function, and that's just common biological science. It's from humans. Was very underproductive at Ole Miss due to injuries and that stuff, but when he was on the field, he was an absolute freak. A lot of fun to watch him at the combine. 4'3", 340, a 40-inch vertical, all at his weight. Didn't do too well in the short shuttle or the 3-cone drill. His 3-cone drill is actually on par with Michael Jordan's. He ran a 7-second 3-cone drill, which shows what a lot of scouts were worrying about. And that was him not being able to get low and get in and out of his breaks. But he is such a physical freak that there's no chance I don't take this guy winning a lot of jump balls in the NFL. And if that's all it comes down to, you're going to get a good red zone threat with his body type. Plain and simple. You guys might have thought I forgot an Ohio State player, but I did not. Paris Campbell, the athletic freak. A 4.31, the fastest time of any receiver at the combine. A 41-inch vertical. A 135-inch broad jump. 6 feet tall, 6'1", 205 pounds. Extremely explosive, tracked the ball really well, ran through receiving events really well, did everything he needed to improve his draft stock and prove that he is a top-tier receiver. And you're seeing Ohio State receivers all over the league. You see Michael Thomas, you see Ted Ginn Jr. on the Saints, you see Noah Brown on the Cowboys. You're starting to see Ohio State Buckeyes pop up everywhere, plain and simple. Paris Campbell is going to be like Curtis Samuel, a little bit bigger. I think he's a better athlete than Cordero Patterson from a movement standpoint, side to side. And I think with Paris Campbell, you're getting something that you can't find anywhere. And worst comes to worst, he becomes a Tavon Austin type where you just have a super sweet gadget player who's extremely fast. I was super happy to see how Paris Campbell did because I was really a big fan of Paris Campbell. And I think I saw his 4.31 speed in person plenty of times. That run against Michigan comes to mind where he caught the fly sweep, tap pass, and took it up the sideline and outran all those Michigan athletes that ran really good 40s but not as fast as Paris, and run, Paris, run. All right, so Andy Isabella tied Paris Campbell, apparently he was supposed to be faster than a 4.3, but guess what? He ran a 4.31. Good enough. We know you're fast, Andy Isabella. Cool it. Go back to UMass. We're good. Showed out. I want to give a special shout-out to a guy I played multiple years of football with from the year 8 years old to about 12 years old, I want to say, 12, 13. The years get blurry. I played baseball with him for a long time. I played basketball with him for the last couple of years. When I lived in Utah, Cody Barden showed out. The two Barden brothers were both there. I couldn't really find as much on Jackson, but Cody ran a really fast 40. Had the fastest shuttle of all the linebackers, and he weighed in at a good weight for a linebacker. A lot of people said he was a little small in the waist, in the lower half of his body to be an NFL linebacker, but he had an extremely productive college career. I watched a lot of Pac-12 After Dark to make sure I saw him play. It's always fun watching someone from your team succeed like that. And it was awesome seeing him in the Underwear Olympics compete. You know, it was awesome seeing his brother compete at the Underwear Olympics. It's been a long ride for him. It feels like just yesterday I was hanging out with him, my friend Sam, at Laguna Beach right before we were all starting college and all that good stuff. Going into our senior years of high school. It was cool. It was a good time. It's just really awesome seeing him there, you know. I've seen a couple guys I've played with get to D1 schools, get here, and seeing Sam Darnold, the guy I didn't know personally, and Josh Rosen, the guy I didn't know personally, get taken in the draft was awesome. But having a guy this close, it was awesome watching that sort of thing happen and unfold. So, yeah, he showed out. I was super proud to see that, super proud of the effort he put in, because for a little bit when he was a little younger, he was one of, so when we were like 8 years old, he was like we had three kids that were like the best players on the team. There was him, Chandler Anderson, who plays baseball at the University of Utah, and Boston Vanderveer, who ended up playing basketball at Chaffey College. Last time I checked. So seeing those three go on, and then you have the next tier, which was probably Jackson, Sam, me, a couple of the linemen. We had a really solid youth football team core there. He ended up going to Brighton High School, Cody did, hitting a growth spurt. He played safety in high school. But the one thing, and I think I've talked about it on my podcast before, that Kyle Whittingham does at the University of Utah. So he gave his brother Jackson a scholarship. Jackson was about 6'6", 270 when he got to high school or college, and put on about 60 pounds, 55 pounds, got big because Kyle Whittingham and his strength coach, and a lot of strength coaches across America do it, but not many schools do it like Utah, where they can get a 240-pound Polynesian kid and make him a 310-pound All-American lineman. And they did that. And Cody came, and he was about 205, safety in high school. He showed up bigger than they thought he'd show up. And then by the end of his career, he was about 235, 240, playing linebacker. And he was playing the strong side, and he became an extremely productive player, plain and simple. And it was awesome seeing it. It was cool. The University of Utah does have a special place in my heart. My first college football game was at Rice-Eccles Stadium. It was awesome. It was against North Carolina Tar Heels. I remember it vividly because we were in the upper part, and I'm scared of heights. Always have been, always will be. So I'm going to be keeping track of him. It's going to be awesome. And then the last winners were the Iowa tight ends. Noah Fant's an absolute freak, and Hawkinson is the better tight end. So we'll go through the combine losers quick because I don't like to harp on the bad times. The biggest loser from the quarterback position was Daniel Jones from Duke. Daniel Jones maximized his potential at Duke. That was awesome. He's not very great. He doesn't have the strongest arm. Next to Dwayne throwing, next to Drew Lock throwing, it wasn't even close. And Dwayne's different than Drew Lock, who also has a very strong arm for a college standpoint. Will Greer made Daniel Jones look like he had a weak arm, and that's when you know your arm's not the strongest. Very underwhelming next to competition. I think he's got the potential to be a long-time professional backup due to his football IQ and his brain, but besides that, he brings some good athleticism. He brings some good size. his ball dies, and you can't have your ball dying in the NFL. Moving forward, Elijah Holyfield, the running back from Georgia, the super big buff one, took over for Nick Chubb. Sony Michel had a really good year, but had a horrendous 40 time for a running back. He ran a 4.81. He can recover from it at his pro day. If he touches the 4.6s, it'll be totally forgotten. If he doesn't, and he runs a 4.81 again, that's who he becomes. So the son of the former boxer might have to pick up boxing again, or he's going to have to run a little faster. Greg Little from Ole Miss was one of the top offensive tackles in the draft. When you're judging an offensive lineman, you don't want to over-rely on 40 times, but when you have a guy who has a 40 time like Greg Little did, when you think he's more of an athletic offensive tackle, it's not good. He underwhelmed in a lot of the strength stuff. He underwhelmed in a lot of the movement stuff as well, position drills. And in direct competition to Jonah Williams, a guy who did unbelievable at the combine from an athletic standpoint, it hurts his draft stock, and he probably became the third or fourth tackle off the board due to his combine performance. And the worst combine performance, and the biggest loser from the combine, is Jachai Polite. Terrible 40, jumped 30 inches, didn't do too great. Way better athlete than I am, way better football player than I ever was, ultra talented, terrible attitude. Didn't like the way the 49ers were interviewing because they were pestering him to him. And a lot of teams said he got very temperamental and irritable in the meetings because they didn't like the questions he was being asked. As a whole, he just totally underwhelmed. Came in undersized, came in out of shape. And a lot of scouts were saying, he said he hurt his hamstring, but a lot of them were saying it was a fake injury. Whew. All right, so there's my combine winners and losers. And with the combine comes speculation. So, with speculation, the Raiders and Cardinals are interested in Kyler Murray. And with the times we're in, there's a lot of great opportunities for the short guy at quarterback. There's some great talent. But eventually, this short guy thing's not going to work. And you have Josh Rosen, a guy he's hard to deal with. He might not get along with this new coaching staff. And coaching staffs and general managers like to start with their own quarterback. Kyler Murray could be Cliff Kingsbury's quarterback, but guess what? The general manager drafted his own quarterback last year. So there's a problem there. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's good. The Raiders have Derek Carr. They're another team interested in Kyler Murray in the top 5. And I think the Giants are just sitting there happy like, you know what? Fight over Kyler Murray. We're going to get our boy Dwayne Haskins Jr. I think the Raiders are doing it more as a smokescreen. I think the Raiders feel they can get what they need later in the first round. But John Gruden does like Kyler Murray, and John Gruden does have the 10-year contract, and John Gruden wasn't getting along with Derek Carr. So there's a lot of little things that go into this. It's a situation that you're going to have to watch. It's a situation you're going to have to listen to. There's going to be a lot of stuff talked about from this first pick, a lot of talks about trade, a lot of different players. Because last year at this time, Sam Darnold was the first sure thing the Browns were going to take the number 1 pick. And then interviews happened, and then it started coming out, the Browns like Josh Rosen. And it started coming out, the Browns love Josh Allen. Then it started coming out, the Browns like Baker Mayfield. There was 4 changes, and there was 4 things. And while I'm still on the Cardinals, if Nick Bosa is not the number 1 pick in the draft, you're stupid. And if you get him at the number 2, 3, or 4 pick, you won the draft. Him and Quinnen Williams are the 2 best players in this draft, and they will change the franchise's defensive front 7 for years to come. I don't think there should be an offensive player picked in the top 5. I think the first player that should come off the board from the offensive side of the ball is Dwayne Haskins, and that's to the Giants. And I think that fits perfect. I think he fits the offense that Pat Shurmur wants to run. I think he needs a year to sit behind Eli Manning. I think there's so much that goes into that works, and it'll work because it's just going to work, and you have to believe me here. Dwayne Haskins is the perfect fit for the New York Giants, and the New York Giants need Dwayne Haskins. But the top 5 picks in order should go Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, Rashawn Gary, Josh Allen, Devin White. That's how it should go. Those should be the 5 guys off the pick. You could throw Dexter Lawrence in there. You can throw Montez Sweat in there. I don't care. 7 of the 10 best players in this draft play on the defensive line. The other 3 are linebackers. A lot of you guys are wondering why I haven't moved on to Kyler Murray and why I'm still a Dwayne Haskins Jr. guy. And a big part of that is because I'm an Ohio State fan and I love Dwayne Haskins and I love the way he plays football. But another big part of that, mobile quarterbacks have won 2 of the last 16 Super Bowls. One was Aaron Rodgers, great in the pocket. One was Russell Wilson, great in the pocket. So you have 16 quarterbacks who play predominantly from the pocket, 2 of which have great running ability. And you're telling me that this run-around, hoo-ha sort of style, cowboy, gunslinger, I'm going to run fast, win a Super Bowl. How many Super Bowls did Michael Vick win? How many games did Vince Young win? Examples I used earlier. And examples I used on Twitter to compare to Kyler Murray. They didn't win any. Who was in the Super Bowl last year? Jared Goff, Tom Brady, not mobile. By any means, either of those guys. Drew Brees was in the NFC Championship. The only really athletic quarterback who made it to that round, Patrick Mahomes. Every other team with an athletic quarterback lost the first round of the playoffs besides the Chiefs. So when I say I'm out on Kyler Murray, I'm not out on him. I just think in the NFL there's more to it than running. Do I think Dwayne Haskins would be a good fit in Arizona? No. Do I think Kyler Murray would be? Yes, I do. And if he's going to go to any team, I think he's going to end up in Florida. Not anymore. The Jacksonville Jaguars signed Nick Foles, so I think he's going to end up in Arizona or in Miami. That's where Kyler Murray can go. Those are the 2 places that Kyler Murray could end up. Maybe Oakland. But Dwayne Haskins is the type of quarterback you want to build around. He can make every single throw. He can throw the ball every style. He's managed through controversy and bad situations with the whole Urban Meyer fiasco, regardless of your feelings on that. And I just really do think Dwayne Haskins is still the predominant number 1 quarterback in the class. And if you think otherwise, I don't think you watched a game of football. Because guess what? When you play at Ohio State, you're playing real defenses. And when you play at Ohio State, you have immense amounts of pressure to perform. And when you play at Ohio State, you're playing real defenses. When you play at Oklahoma, you have immense amounts of pressure to perform. We saw it with Baker. He lived up to the hype. You're going to have big moments. You're going to have some controversies. It's going to be cool. But you're going to be in the spotlight. But the big difference is, in the Big 12, you don't have real winter, and you don't have real cold. Maybe in Kansas, but if you go into Kansas and lose, you're not the number 1 pick. Trace McSorley got asked to work out as a DB. That was funny. That's my draft speculation. So, to wrap it up, the Chris Renne Show's gone fishing. Pints at the Round Table will be out Thursday. It'll be out Friday morning, 9 a.m. The shows will always be out Wednesday at 9 a.m. and Friday at 9 a.m. now. I'll start marketing them probably around noon to 3, depending on when I have time to Photoshop. Lastly, let's do one more round of following. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Renne and on Instagram at ChrisRenne5. Follow Mom's Basement Productions on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook. It's M-Basement Prod on Twitter and Instagram. It's Mom's Basement Prod on Facebook. And follow Pints at the Round Table on Twitter at MB Pints and on Instagram at Pints at the Round Table 1. Yeah. Had one more thing I wanted to say. Sort of blanking. It's whatever. Spring break, baby. Hopefully I have some funny stories for you guys when I come back. Special podcast. It'll be up Sunday. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully it's not too long. And hopefully I can cut it down into segments. Last but not least, it's been a while, but go Bucks. It's been a good ride. It's been a good episode. Hopefully you guys like it. So adios. This is your host, Christopher Renne, signing out.